Hello, everybody, and welcome to Action and Adventure, the Hasbro Universe Podcast. Yay!
Hello.
This is our inaugural episode. I'm your host, Daniel Atkins, and with me is my co-host.
Yeah, I am Callum, and aka Jala Guy. You may have seen me around as.
Yes, Jalagai, you are, of course, known for working on such wikis as the Transformers Wiki, correct?
Yes, admin there for a few years now, and also recently got up and running the IDW Hasbro Wiki, very relevant, of course, to this podcast, and also the GoBots Wiki. Although, I'm not contributing so much to there, but got it up and running for those people who are into GoBots, which, apparently there are those people, and I'm happy for them that they've got a wiki now.
Yes, apparently there's a surprising number of those, I'll be quite honest. I'm Daniel Atkins. I do video reviews of comics on YouTube, where I've talked about the IDW books quite a lot. I'm a longtime Transformers fan and ROM fan, and that's part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast, because there are a lot of Transformers podcasts out there, but not a lot of them really talk about the Hasbro universe that came about in 2016. And the ones that do usually are not very fond of it. Whereas me, as a longtime Transformers fan and a longtime ROM fan, I loved this. I loved the Revolution event, and I loved the Hasbro universe. Like, pretty much as soon as it was announced, I was like, this is a great idea. This is something that I think should have been done years ago. I'm happy to see this happen. Callum, what was your sort of reaction to the Hasbro universe, in the early days?
I think back when that original press release kind of came out for the fact that Revolution was going to happen and this was all going to be brought into one universe, I think I was one of the people where a sort of kind of sharp intake of breath, kind of, okay, how is this going to pan out? And I would admit, kind of, I was apprehensive, but I think it was as we were getting towards Revolution, and I think I tried Action Man, I think, because I'd started to see people kind of raving about it to a degree, and I've always liked John Barber's stuff, so I gave it a go. I was like, okay, this is great, this is really great. I ended up trying the other stuff, and then when Revolution hit, I think by the time Revolution had finished, I was kind of fully on board with the idea. It was just this going to be a big kind of rollicking, fun, good old-fashioned, everyone meets each other, has a little fight, and then has to team up because their villains teamed up, kind of crossover. And so definitely by the time I kind of came out of that, any worries I'd had about perhaps kind of, oh no, this is going to ruin the Transformers output, they're just sort of piggybacking off of it, I think I'd kind of come around to the idea that this can better everything. It can only enhance the Transformers comics, if anything. And in practice, it has not had the biggest effect on them for the people who are sort of concerned about it. It is, I think, as a whole, enhanced everything. But I was initially a doubter.
Yeah, and I certainly don't blame people for being hesitant about it, because it was this long established universe for 10 years. And the fact that you then say, G.I. Joe has just been around this whole time. It's like, it's inherently going to have some problems to it. But on the whole, I think it's proved to be more successful than not.
Yeah, I think probably one of the things that helped is that sort of when that first announcement came out, I think the thing on a lot of people's minds was like, oh, okay, Hasbro, they're kind of messing around with IDW again. This is the next sort of Dark Cybertron, next Combiner Wars, where it's all sort of a bit mandated and kind of working to sort of Hasbro's kind of marketing objectives. But it kind of subsequently it became clear that this kind of whole thing was pretty much being pushed for by the creative teams, people like John Barber and Chris Ryle and all sorts. They were the ones kind of pushing for us. They went to Hasbro and said, look, hey guys, we got these licenses, would you be cool if we took all those toys and we smashed them together?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of enthusiasm from the creative end is what kind of made it a success, I reckon.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, the fact that is what has driven this, I think, is the ultimate key to its success. Is the fact that this was not Hasbro mandated, and quite frankly, I would buy that it was Hasbro mandated a lot more if like there were actually M.A.S.K toys or G.I. Joe toys actually on the shelves right now. But given that that's not the case, let's face it, comics are not really a medium that pushes to kids. It's like
I've seen people on Transformers boards saying, this is all Hasbro's doing. They just want to they want to push M.A.S.K because they want to get M.A.S.K back as a big brand. It's like, guys,
they do
an
that
American
with
comic book series an American comic book series is not the way to reintroduce a property to the public at large. I'm not sure if you know a lot about comics, but you're not going to bring that back into the public consciousness with a comic series by IDW Publishing.
Yeah, definitely.
That was never the aim, guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's explain how this is going to work. So basically, with this podcast, every 2 weeks we are going to release a new episode covering all of the Hasbro books that have come out within that time frame. So some weeks we'll have a lot to talk about, and some weeks we might not. Hasbro's schedule is a little finicky, so... Yes.
Indeed.
So we're going to talk about the last 2 weeks' worth of books, starting with the sole released from last Wednesday, at the time we're recording this, of course, Transformers Lost Light number 5. Callum, what happened in this issue?
So, I have said to people, I think that this is around about the point in this opening Lost Light story arc. This is around the point you get in a lot of More Than Meets the Eye story arcs where everything starts coming together, and everyone sits down and starts explaining the plot to each other a bit. And now I say this with the most the utmost of affection, but it's a tendency you have towards the as you get towards the third act of a story, you get all the mysteries that this particular story has been addressing. So in this case, we've got the back to the Functionist Universe story that was set up, and the what is wrong for story that has been a long-running thing. And this is the point where all those pieces start coming together, and we start learning about what is all going on. And so we saw that, Rung, he is 4, producing photonic crystals, and our story ended in the Functionist Universe. All our band of lost lighters and the anti-vocationalist league all coming together. They escape with the Functionist Universe Rung, even as the Functionist Council are starting their final assault. And meanwhile, Brainstorm has figured out a possible way to get everyone home by using the lovely Killmaster's wand. And we end with Rodimus and Functionist Universe Rung going to blows when, we have the choice between Lost Lighters teleporting back to the Necroworld so they can get home, or defeating the Functionist Council. And we're left with that finally lovely panel of Rodimus and Rung ready for some fisticuffs, apparently.
Which is honestly, Rung is not usually the person I expect to see about to beat up somebody. So, we're, one of the disadvantages of starting this podcast now is that we are sort of jumping into the middle of a story arc. So if you haven't been reading Lost Light, I'd say jump on with the next story arc. Well, really jump on at the beginning of More Than Meets the Eye, because, that's basically the biggest criticism Lost Light has faced, is that it's not much of an introduction for new readers.
Certainly Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime, I think a new reader could pick up with Optimus Prime 1, and they'd be good with that. They'd be good to go. Lost, I would kind of feel sorry for the person who tried to pick up the Lost Light one, if I'm honest. It was effectively More Than Meets the Eye 58 in all but the title.
Yeah. So yeah, this was another solid issue, I thought, of Lost Light. Nothing like, the fact that we have finally learned what Rung's function is, and the fact that it's basically the kind of thing that goes against the Functionist Council's entire belief structure, I thought was actually like really cool. Like the fact that that basically, the Functionists' whole idea is everybody has a purpose that serves Primus. Cold construction is not a part of that. And then, your purpose is to create the thing that fuels cold construction.
Yeah, no, I like that kind of, it wasn't something that sort of you necessarily saw coming. It sort of, it makes sense when you hear it, but it's like, okay, I did not see that coming, unlike perhaps the other plot reveal in that issue, which I think a lot of people did see coming by the end.
Oh, you mean the
lug?
Yeah, the lug thing.
So
we'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that we finally got to learn what Rung's purpose was.
I did think it was a bit interesting that it doesn't. Creating photonic crystals. He doesn't.
Callum?
Bit of a question as to what is his ult mode for, in particular. If he can create his photonic crystals whilst he's still in robot mode, what is the sort of stick for that he turns into? Perhaps that stick is it's more efficient at creating photonic crystals, perhaps.
Yeah.
I assume we'll get some explanation.
Yeah, because otherwise if he just turns into a stick that can still make photonic crystals, is it just like his compact mode? Is it just make it easier for people to carry him around? Or does it plug into like some sort of device or something?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Kind of, does it connect to sort of some larger kind of cold construction apparatus or something?
Yeah. And of course, with this first arc of Lost Light, we've got a lot going on because we've got Rodimus and Megatron and the rest in the Functionist Universe, but we're still also dealing with stuff like the new characters, Node and Lug, and Lug, and the other the rest of the cast back on the Necro world, like Nightbeat and Rung and Velocity and all them. And I will say that's one thing that I feel like is sort of hurting Lost Light so far, is the fact that we've had to stretch, each issue doesn't feel like we're getting a ton of story. It definitely feels very decompressed and written for the trade, which is not necessarily something I love in my monthly comics.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's more of a personal thing,
Yeah.
So.
I don't mean kind of. I think there's a lot of kind of, it's cut from the same cloth, I would say, as kind of the early More Than Meets the Eye season 2 stuff. The kind of disappearing ship arc and then the time travel arc, where it was all very kind of serialized and sort of. It's nice that it ends up very kind of hectic and there's a lot happening, but kind of on an issue by issue basis. So I know what you mean. It can perhaps then feel a bit, when you've got all these parallel threads running, it can feel a bit like sort of, okay, so we've advanced several threads kind of a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll admit that's not really a problem that just Lost Light has faced. It's something that has kind of bugged me about all of More Than Meets that's even something More Than Meets the Eye suffered from, in my opinion, But other people, clearly enjoy the really long stretched out stuff. So
it's kind of, you need a mix, I think, of the sort of episodic stuff. Which I think kind of the first season, as such, of More Than Meets the Eye did kind of
it was a
episodic
lot of
stories very well. I think.
Yeah, a lot of episodic stuff, and I really love the first season, more than the second season.
Yeah. But then equally, yeah, I think a lot of the episodic stuff in the back half of the second season was around the point when quite a lot of people started kind of, sort of falling out of love with the book to a degree.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah. And I will admit that I was one of those people, but it was more so just out of a feeling like, like it just kind of felt like, okay, it's the same kind of thing. While over in like XRID, we were starting to like get more. My interest started to go to there more because of we were getting more with characters like Cosmos and Soundwave.
Yeah, I think kind of, so say what you will about the sort of the longer, the sort of 6-part sort of full trade kind of serialized stories. They do kind of give everything sort of a sense of purpose and kind of forward momentum, even if it's a little kind of slower than you sometimes do get with the episodic stuff. So yeah, it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
A mix is good, I think. Like, some longer stories and then some sort of like shorter one-shots.
Yeah. This issue also revealed that Lug was a fiction of a node's imagination the entire time. Now this was something people like had called early on, and I kind of wanted it to be subverted, but it's like, it was kind of obvious,
Yeah. I think with More Than Meets the Eye / Lost Light, there's sort of there's a bit of a pattern, I think, with reveals in that if James Roberts really obviously wants you to think a thing, then that thing's probably not right. Like, as soon as we had that issue of More Than Meets the Eye, where there was sort of every sort of few panels, practically, there was some kind of hint that oh yeah, look, Tarn's doing all these, Roller's doing all these things that are like things Tarn do. As soon as that issue happened, it's like, I said to myself, okay, well, looks like Roller isn't Tarn then, because James Roberts really obviously wants me to think that.
Even though it then made for a very unsatisfying reveal when we got who Tarn was.
I loved that reveal, actually. Just the fact that we had that page turn. Was it a page turn? But yeah, you hit Roller just as you're expecting to find out who Tarn is, and it's a reveal that Roller isn't Tarn. See, I loved that. But yeah, I know lots of people did it.
But the fact is, it's Glitch, who was only which Glitch isn't even technically his real name, because his real name is what?
It was Deimos.
Deimos, yeah. It's like who was in like one of the earlier Functionist arcs, and that's just like really. I mean,
let's see. I am the rare person who enjoyed all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I applaud James for going for that subverting of, oh, it's someone important, but but at the same time it also is like you're subverting it, but at the same time it's been built up. I feel like that honestly any answer was probably going to be unsatisfying for someone.
I suppose, yeah. But
like at that point, like I still liked the theory that it was I still like the theory that it was gonna be Minimus. I think that would have been a really cool I think that was a really cool theory. Although I will say,
you mean Dominus?
Dominus,
yeah.
Not Minimus.
I don't say.
Yeah, no, I was thinking Dominus. Dominus. Because that would have, because like there have been that like people's theory for that, and but I think that making him Agent 117 was an even bigger twist for what happened to Dominus.
Oh yeah, but returning to what I was saying though, but so with Lug, there were lots of kind of little clues that people did end up picking up on, but it was never sort of deliberately called attention to any of them. They were just sort of there, but kind of no attention was called to these clues that nobody else was interacting with Lug. So I think I was reasonably sure that from the moment that people picked up on them, that that was kind of the case. They weren't red herrings. I reckon they weren't obvious enough to be red herrings, and that did turn out to be the case. And I'm not sure.
Although I will say, I only picked it up once other people started saying.
Definitely,
it. So it's like, but then once they say it, it's like, oh, come on, now I have it in my But yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would have picked up on them if kind of that theory hadn't started going around. But kind of once you hear about it, you can't unhear it. So
yeah. Yeah. We also, one of the big things we got was Terminus telling Megatron to stay in the Functionist Universe.
Yes.
So, which, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
I mean, Megatron's too... Like, he's too big to the wider universe. I don't feel like he can just stay in another universe.
I think it's the kind of thing where you could potentially leave him there, and then he would kind of, ride in at the last minute at a big moment in some future story, and you bring him back kind of for the big moment in the same way that kind of Overlord had a big moment, sort of returning to the fold in Dying of the Light. But I think perhaps regardless, Terminus will definitely end up staying no matter what. I feel like kind of because the cast is kind of bloated at the minute. The kind of the active cast that are out doing things with Terminus and Roller being added.
Yeah, and
I reckon Terminus needs to stay behind.
And see, that's another thing is, for a book called Lost Light, we've been going 5 issues and we haven't actually seen the Lost Light, which is, just symptomatic of what happened at the end of More Than Meets the Eye.
I think we've seen from Roberts on Twitter that issue 10 is reportedly sort of, it's The Mutineers is its current title apparently, so I assume that's the first time we're going to be back at the Lost Light. But we may check in before then. Who knows?
But that's the thing. It's like we have all these new, like we have Roller and Fangry and all those,
Fangry. I'd completely forgotten he was doing things in this arc.
But we have all these new characters who are, retrieved from by the Necrobot. So like assuming that they ever get back to the Lost Light, it's like. Then you have all these new characters on top of like the characters who are already on the Lost Light, and let's face it, the Lost Light is already filled with characters who have not done much. Like my boy Inferno, like my favorite character, my second favorite character.
He is, isn't he? Yeah, Inferno. Yes. I'd forgotten.
My second favorite character after Soundwave, and he's done nothing in practically the entirety of the IDW continuity. He has done basically nothing. And I am sad by that. I'm also glad, because it means if I ever get the chance to write an IDW comic, it's like, I can do anything I want with Inferno, because he's done nothing. I can do anything. I really love Inferno.
Him and Grapple, they fought legislators, didn't they, in the first season, but not a lot else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall, solid issue, nothing to stand out except for
I would say the kind of it there was nothing to say kind of golly that was was an amazing issue, but equally I couldn't fault it other than the fact that some of the reveals are a bit kind of weaker because people had figured it out already, but that's not a complaint about the comic.
Of course we get like I do love that Killmaster was not just a random, thing, which, by the way, awesome name.
Yeah.
Such an awesome name, Killmaster. It actually folded into the main narrative. But yeah, overall, solid issue. No, not many complaints.
I couldn't come up with many complaints.
I will say, I did love Rung's, let me see if I can find it in the issue. I have all the issues right here on hand.
You have floppies, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a pure floppy guy. I gotta have my paper.
Yeah.
I loved his defiant all hail the useless ones as he's escaping. Yes. That was like, wow, Rung's a badass in this universe. Love it. So now let's follow up a solid comic with a crappy M.A.S.K. So we're just gonna lay this out on the table. We don't like M.A.S.K. Neither of us likes M.A.S.K.
M.A.S.K leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it's easily the I did a video for my channel that was like an hour long, just detailing everything that was wrong with M.A.S.K. like back when the fourth issue came out, and I never posted that because it's like it ended up just becoming me yelling for like an hour. So yeah, we're not really fans of M.A.S.K. And this issue has, is a pretty solid reason for why. So basically, it follows up on the first story arc, which was the fight with V.E.N.O.M. So they're recovering from their fight with V.E.N.O.M. And Matt Tracker decides that he needs some new allies to M.A.S.K to bolster their ranks. So he goes to Dr. Mindbender, the former Cobra member from G.I. Joe, and
not that that's ever mentioned in M.A.S.K, I should point out.
Yeah, well,
it's discussed how he worked with the CIA and things, but is never once mentioned that Dr. Mindbender had anything to do with Cobra. And you kind of start wondering, is it just because nobody knows that, or...
Yeah, well, that's... you gotta think, I mean, if Miles... because Dr. Mindbender... Assuming he is Dr. Mindbender, he's never actually called Dr. Mindbender. He's called Dr. Bender, despite that not being...
I will talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
That whole name thing.
Despite that not being his name. But he showed up in the Revolution one-shot that kicked off M.A.S.K.
Yes.
So this is, bringing him back. He helped Miles Mayhem figure out his, do some psychological analysis for the M.A.S.K members. So he basically, Matt goes to him and wants to see the files on the former M.A.S.K members that make up V.E.N.O.M. Vanessa, Sly, Bruno. And so essentially this is just, the story is literally called The Origin of V.E.N.O.M. So we basically get flashbacks to Vanessa Warfield. We see her backstory, how she got in with her abusive father, and how she got to studying criminal justice and psychology. We see Sly Rax, who was kind of a street... what's the word?
Con man.
Yeah, a con man. Yeah, a con man on the streets doing, conning people out of their money. And we get a brief glimpse at Bruno, but we don't get much with him.
I assume that will kind of continue next issue. Yeah,
it leaves off on a to be continued. So not really a ton. It's actually not. It's not a terrible issue. On the whole.
I was going to say there have been worse issues of M.A.S.K.
I still think number 3 is that's currently our valley. It is the lowest point because the art is one of the big things that I have a problem with in M.A.S.K, especially in this issue, because something about it just doesn't seem quite right. Especially when let's see, the artist is
Juan Samu.
Yeah.
It's the same fill-in artist who did issue 3. And I think this issue is probably a bit better than 3. But it's the faces, I would say.
It's really
every so often
faces. Oh my gosh, there's the one that there's that one panel that Matt Tracker looks like that Nicolas Cage meme.
It's so frightening. It's honestly frightening.
It's it's weird, and then of course there's that scene at the beginning where Mindbender has all of his he has he basically has scenes from previous comics, from an issue of Revolutions and Revolution and all that, where they leave in the lettering, which is just
it's that's standard fare using our previous issues for your sort of view screen feed, but you don't leave in the lettering. What's happening there?
Yeah. So
That's,
I will say, actually getting to like this is probably the first issue where we have actually got some real characterization for
oh
any of
goodness,
these
yeah,
characters, because it's essentially all backstory
yeah.
for Venom. But the fact is, we are now 6 issues into this series, and I know more about Venom than I do about the M.A.S.K team. Like,
Yes, that's a good
I know
point.
more about the villains than the actual heroes of the book.
Yeah, nobody other than Matt Tracker in M.A.S.K really gets a lot to do character-wise, it has to be said. Like, Matt Tracker, of course, is sad about everything all the time. Matt Tracker he can't deal with it. He can't deal with it. He's upset about everything.
But
Everyone
Callum,
else,
he's the most beautiful and charismatic engineer.
mm.
Oh my god, that profile.
But no, yeah, poor Gloria and Julio and Brad. Well, Brad gets to be sort of the funny one a bit, I guess.
He's supposed to be like the cool one, but
yeah,
I don't know. He never really.
But other than that,
seems like it.
Not a lot of character going on.
And technically, Brad doesn't even appear in this issue. Like, he's not anywhere in this issue. Like, and I'm not just saying that just because he's now been replaced by Zartan. I mean, like, literally, Brad is never drawn once in this issue. Like, I don't know. I almost have to wonder if Easton just doesn't like Brad because he took him out of. Well, because he took him out of commission in the first issue.
Oh yeah.
In the first issue, he gets taken down by Sly's harpoons, and then he's out of commission for the next 2 issues. Shows back up in the 4th, and then at the end of the 5th one, he gets replaced by Zartan.
I had not thought about that, but yeah.
Just saying. I calls it like I sees it. Yeah.
But yes, so let me talk about Dr. Mindbender in this issue and in the M.A.S.K series in general, because I think the one time he is referred to by name in this issue, Matt Tracker calls him Dr. Bender. So in IDW's previous G.I. Joe comics that are now part of this continuity, Dr. Mindbender is a man named Dr. Arman Singh, and that is his real name, and he is nicknamed Dr. Mindbender. And he hates being called that. That is kind of his thing. But the Baroness calls him that to annoy him, and so on. In the M.A.S.K Revolution one-shot, in a caption box, when he appears in a caption box, he's referred to as Arman Singh, and that makes sense, great. But then in dialogue, in that issue again, he was called Dr. Bender. And so at the time I was thinking, what's this? And then in M.A.S.K issue 1, after Revolution, for some reason, Mindbender was on the cast list at the start of the issue, and in the bio there, his real name is given as Dr. Verstal Bender. So clearly what happened is that, I guess, Easton hadn't read any of the previous G.I. Joe stuff that Dr. Mindbender was in, and so made up a new real name for him, because he doesn't have kind of a traditional real name from back in the 80s. IDW made up that name, the Arman Singh name, that was newly made up for IDW. So Billy Easton also made up a new name, and then someone in editing, I guess, perhaps caught it and corrected it to Arman Singh in the caption box, but forgot to change the Dr. Bender bit. And that has apparently happened here again, because he is still Dr. Bender, which is half of a nickname that he doesn't like.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. It's like, maybe you could justify it, like, maybe they're shortening Mindbender. I can't see, I personally can't see Miles Mayhem, calling anyone, even if he knew they were former Cobra, it's like, I can't see him, calling anyone. He just seems too professional to refer to them by their code name. It's
perhaps he was just being a dick.
I don't know. Maybe wouldn't be out of character for him to. But I don't know. He seems to have this professionalism about him that.
Yeah.
But it's like the whole Dr. Verstal Bender thing, like, that just clinches it, and it's like,
yeah,
come on, like,
now, that was
research, man, come on.
Yeah, it's interesting because that issue as well, it sort of talked about how he worked with the CIA on everything.
Yeah, it does not mention Cobra at all, even though he
doesn't mention Cobra at all, or mention all of the kind of real world science stuff that IDW G.I. Joe actually established he was involved in. Like, there is a G.I. Joe one shot that kind of talks about how he was involved in the Manhattan Project. But actually, because also in G.I. Joe, he is primarily a physicist in G.I. Joe, with like a sideline in mind bending, effectively.
Huh.
Again, he is primarily a psychologist here.
Right. Yeah. See, I mean, like, I've not read. I read some of the IDW Joe stuff, but not as much as you have.
Mm.
So
yeah, in that original IDW Joe ongoing, Dr. Mindbender appears as part of Cobra's mass device project, building their teleporter. He is there to be a physicist, not a psychologist.
You know what would actually be hilarious is if, like, John Barber, like if Easton, like, ever, like, left M.A.S.K, is like some new writer comes in and establishes that Verstal Bender and Dr. Mindbender are not the same guy. They're just two guys who just happen to have the exact same mustache and monocle.
Yeah. It honestly wouldn't be that outlandish.
Yeah, it's like
he did in, I think, one of the later series. I want to say maybe the second volume of G.I. Joe during the sort of Cobra Civil War bit. I think he did some interrogation of Duke and did some sort of like mind kind of stuff there. But yeah, he was mostly a physicist.
Yeah. Come on, man. Isn't Dr. Mindbender supposed to be an orthodontist? Come on, man. We gotta get... This totally betrays the spirit of the original. Next you're gonna be telling me that Cobra Commander isn't a used car salesman.
Alas. Actually, speaking of G.I. Joe, I saw you earlier today, actually, mention that there is another there's a G.I. Joe kind of real deep cut in this issue that I did not notice. But
I actually didn't notice it at first either. I saw someone mention it in a tweet, and then I was like, wait, really? So I, looked it up, and we also get the cameo from Law, one half of the human-dog duo Law and Order. From hey now, that is an amazing pun. I love Law and Order. I'm not a Joe fan, but I love the idea of having two characters named Law and Order. And okay, and so for those of you who don't know Joe, Law and Order was a military. He was an MP. He was a military police officer, and he had a dog named Order, a German Shepherd, and I love that idea, honestly. But he appears here as Lieutenant Levine, which actually should not be. He should not be a lieutenant based on his original file rank, because he was ranked in E4, which in the Army would make him a corporal. Oh. Yeah, a lieutenant is like an O2, I believe. So it's a completely it's a commissioned officer, not an enlisted officer. So yeah, but I mean, which of course, me being the American, I picked up on that. So,
but yeah, it's an interesting kind of.
It is a nice little cameo.
He's not even part of G.I. Joe. As far as we can
and of course, Easton couldn't screw up his history, because Law hadn't appeared in comics until now. So
yeah, well, actually, I spoke to you about it earlier, but Scarlet does beat up some G.I. Joe military policemen in I think the second arc of the original ongoing, but none of them have a dog, so you can't really tell. They're just some guys.
I might take a look at that issue for wiki purposes. I was actually working on the wiki entry for this issue earlier. Yeah, but anyways, but yeah, what did you think of Vanessa's backstory?
It was kind of interesting to see the whole sort of because her whole sort of she's kind of like a serial killer fetishist thing had come up in kind of her trading card profiles. From the Humble Bundle Revolution deal they did a while back, they if you pledged a certain amount, you got some physical Revolution trading cards with profiles in the back, and so this idea that kind of Vanessa Warfield had grown up reading kind of true crime magazines and was like big into sort of serial killer stuff.
I believe it also was in the. Let me reach out across to my bookshelf here.
Yeah.
Let's see. I believe they were also printed in the M.A.S.K annual.
Oh yes, they're longer versions. Yeah, in the end of the annual. Yeah.
Okay, Vanessa is not in the annual, but the source book is coming out, and there will be.
Yeah, I've seen that in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's interesting.
It's actually not bad. I mean, that's the thing. The original Vanessa Warfield in the original M.A.S.K cartoon had basically no personality.
Did anyone in the original M.A.S.K cartoon have any personality?
T-Bob was clumsy.
True. I say this having seen one episode, and
it's like literally all I can tell you is the robot sidekick was clumsy. Yeah, I will say like it's like after that we see Matt, after he's read the file, and he's like, unbelievable, and he's now saying, and he's saying like, prejudice is he says like, I let my emotional reaction to Vanessa's disposition cloud my assessment of her character, and it's like, dude, she murdered her father. She's still a psycho. Yeah. You judged her perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like,
well, actually,
sorry, it's to quote Brooklyn Nine-Nine, cool motive, still murder.
Yeah. And actually, whilst we are discussing this Vanessa section of the issue, I have to flip back a few pages and read my dialogue highlight from the issue, which if you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen the other day.
Yeah. For those of you who have not read M.A.S.K, don't. Save your money and just listen to us talk about it, because the dialogue is horrendous.
It's so strange.
It is a special kind of bad, just weird. Nobody sounds like a human.
It's so strange. It's everyone talks like kind of they're ROM, but ROM gets away with talking like that because he's ROM and he's like a knight from outer space.
Exactly. I expect a knight from outer space to be all like, now turn into a butterfly and sing,
So when we flash back in this issue to we're flashing back to the M.A.S.K Revolution one shot, where during the M.A.S.K team's training, 2 of their teammates got blown up in the prototype vehicles. And Vanessa is all, this doesn't affect me. And Julio says, well, what's the matter with you? And Vanessa says, nothing. In case you don't recognize it, this is what fortitude looks like. Tears of vestigial baubles. They trigger the darkness within our enemies. And it's just, oh my goodness.
Oh, don't forget.
How would a human being say that?
Don't forget Gloria's line. That black ice that runs through your veins will freeze your heart solid, Vanessa.
I think I described it on Twitter. It's as if the issue was ghost written by ROM while high. It's kind of purple prose that also doesn't make any sense.
Cold hearts are like diamond-tipped drills. They do the job. Cut through the slit.
Of course, you don't cut through silt with a diamond-tipped drill either. You don't need a diamond-tipped drill to cut through silt, guys. But then that reminds me of in the M.A.S.K Revolution one shot again. In fact, the Schrodinger's cat problem is described in that as a exercise in psychology. It's not a physics thought experiment. Oh, you heard wrong. It's actually about whether people want to kill a cat or not.
Yeah, that is not. What?
It's so strange.
And I I'm glad, like, that's pretty much, like, the worst of it, though. Like there's some pretty bad exchanges between Mindbender and Matt, but luckily it's pretty out there for the most. Like, there's not a whole lot of that in the
I'd say generally it's when people get emotional, I think, that the dialogue gets all weird and just purple and doesn't really make any sense. So, like, normal conversations are like, okay, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
But then suddenly it's people monologuing, like, yeah, they're not an actual person.
Yeah. I mean, need I remind you, Brandon Easton apparently wrote for Agent Carter.
Yeah, it's the thing. If you've written for television, where people are saying those words out loud, how does this happen? I don't know.
I would say maybe he's trying to go for, like, an 80s cheese kind of vibe, except he's clearly not.
And if you were, you kind of got to commit all the way, almost.
Yeah. You know, not try to make it all realistic with the, masks and all that.
Well, it's especially strange given that his stated kind of influence with this comic was kind of M.A.S.K as the Fast and the Furious, and that's a really good idea. That is how you do M.A.S.K in this day and age. But I'm pretty sure people don't talk like that in Fast and Furious.
No, I mean, let's face it, Fast and Furious has its cheesy moments. I mean, they literally, drive from one skyscraper into another skyscraper into another skyscraper.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love it. But, no, nobody talks like this in the Fast and Furious movies.
Like, I'm kind of glad to have, I shouldn't have to be being glad to have it, is addressing what was Bruno Shepard's deal with being so angry at Matt Trakker? Because in Revolution, just the people who were going to become M.A.S.K, Vanessa and Bruno and Sly, they just kind of disappear partway through the big final fight, and then they're sort of assumed dead when everything explodes. And then when we meet them again at M.A.S.K, in the M.A.S.K ongoing, they're all super angry at Matt Trakker for, like, abandoning them, apparently. Despite the fact that everyone else there, in that big fight at the end of Revolution, they all made their way out on their own fine. No, apparently it was Matt Trakker's responsibility to, like, personally carry all of his teammates out of them, I guess.
Yeah.
But now we get a flashback. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you go.
But yeah, and so now we get a flashback into... Well, I assume it is a flashback into that final battle in Revolution, where it looks like we are going to get a kind of scene inserted to explain just why Bruno Shepard is so angry at Matt Trakker. Yeah,
which, I mean, that was a big thing that threw me off. Like, when the second issue of M.A.S.K came out, you might remember when we were posting on the Allspark, like, after that issue came out, I was like, why is Bruno a cyborg? Like,
yeah,
to me,
that's an interesting choice.
Like, to me, it just came out of nowhere, because it's like...
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because it's certainly not based in anything from, like, the original M.A.S.K cartoon. It's not like he had a cybernetic eye or nothing. It's not like he lost and, got burned in half of his face. It was just like, oh yeah, he's a cyborg now, and it's like, I mean, there's nothing really inherently wrong with that idea, but it's like, I don't quite get why, and it's like, and who knows? Hopefully this flashback is to the final battle in Revolution. Hopefully Easton will also take that opportunity to explain the whole Miles Mayhem's M.A.S.K thing from the first issue that never made any sense at all, because it's like.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's as if the kind of first arc of M.A.S.K was sort of written to follow a sort of parallel universe version of Revolution that was slightly different, where you saw different things happen involving the M.A.S.K team. I mean, maybe he was having to write it before that miniseries was kind of written. He didn't have access to the script. I don't know, but it was all very strange.
Yeah.
And, the fact that in M.A.S.K issue 2, we find out that, Matt's team didn't recognise their former teammates until they took their masks off, despite the fact that they're wearing the exact same masks and clothes, even, as they were wearing all throughout Revolution.
Yeah,
and it's all very.
And, I mean, Gloria in the first issue says, that must be Miles Mayhem. I'll recognize that voice anywhere. And then when he takes off his mask, they're like, Miles Mayhem? How is he alive? It's like...
Impossible!
What? It's like, that's not even having an entire event written by a different writer in between issues.
No,
that is literally...
between 2 issues of the same comic.
I know, it's...
Well, actually, speaking of between issues of the same comic, I saw someone point out earlier today on News. So yeah, in this issue, Matt Tracker is going off to recruit new M.A.S.K teammates, despite the fact that they found out in the previous arc that using masks gives you cancer. Or radiation poisoning.
Yeah, or 13 poisoning, whatever.
Yeah, they are apparently just cool with that, and their immediate priority is finding more people to join the club. Because they didn't, were they supposed to have, taken Venom's cure for it? Because that wasn't said on panel, I don't think, was it?
Yeah, it's not... Well, and I thought, and isn't, one of the solicitations for the upcoming, going underground thing supposed to be that they're looking for a cure for the Or-13 radiation poisoning?
Yes, I think you might be right.
Yeah, so it's so what's going on with that plot point, It's we're just skipping that, we just ignoring that for now. So, I don't know what's going on with this book, honestly. So,
it's
M.A.S.K.
Scatterbrained at times with the plot and then the dialogue. I think those are the 2 key things. It is the kind of plot consistency, both with other stories and itself, and the dialogue. The art it's serviceable at most of the time. Even in this issue, it's fine most of the time. It's when people try and do some kind of big facial expression, it gets a bit, okay, that's weird. But mostly it's fine. But yeah, it's the plot and the dialogue that I think hurt it the most.
Yeah. Or when we see Bruno in his cybernetics, and it's, the second issue established that they were on his left side, and now it's on his right side, which the same artist had the same problem in the 3rd issue, so it's
oh, yeah.
So
when the 3rd issue was kind of excusable, you have to assume that he hadn't seen the issue 2 art when he was drawing it.
Yeah, but
now it's a guy.
Come on, man.
Check, guy.
Yeah. So, although I will say this, they got the Rhino's coloring right in the final page, so...
Yeah, that's been an ongoing thing.
See, that bugs me, honestly. I can deal with a lot, but the the M.A.S.K vehicles not having the right coloring,
oh my god,
that bugs me. Because
Shark, Gloria's car,
because it's like getting a Transformers coloring wrong. It's it's the these are the primary things about this comic. You can get a lot of stuff wrong, and it can be excusable, but when multiple panels have the entire vehicle colored wrong, that just to me is and the shark the shark is the biggest offender just because it keeps going back and forth between
in fairness, the shark wasn't a toy, I don't think.
I
think the shark was made up for the cartoon when they made up Gloria.
I think there were plans to release a shark toy, but because there were early because some of the toys hadn't come out by the time they were featured in the show. I think it was the Manta was one of those.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But yeah, it never got a toy, but still, you can Google image search it, and you're just gonna get a ton of white and yellow cars. What's with the blue? And I can even understand later artists, coloring it blue because of the M.A.S.K series, but it's why was it blue in the first place? What was up with that? Not counting that whole orange, shark thing, which, ugh.
Honestly, overall, I would say that, this issue, M.A.S.K 6, it's definitely not the worst M.A.S.K has been.
No.
Kind of, the backstory was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the fact that we are getting to learn something about some of the characters.
Well, yeah, any focus on actual characters and characterization is good for M.A.S.K, so, I'll give it points for that, I guess. but
Yeah.
it still has most of the problems that M.A.S.K has had ongoing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just action scene after action scene, which...
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to ROM number 10. All right, so this issue is sort of a cool down issue between arcs.
Well, it's titled Interlude, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. So this follows on the heels of the Reinforcements arc, which saw 2 new Space Knights come to Earth, Livia and Orpheon. And of course, in this issue, ROM is finally giving ROM the chance to show them what's so great about humanity.
And it's adorable.
Oh my gosh, the first scene is just, I loved it. I love it. Well, and of course, it starts off with people they're in the middle of a, I guess it's supposed to be some kind of a mall, I think.
Yeah, it's described as
Dolmen Mall.
Dolmen Mall.
Yeah, so and they basically decloak and everyone's and Orpheon's gonna be like, watch it, they're gonna freak out. Mm-hmm. And everyone does in excitement because they think there's Transformers right in front of them.
It's such a good reversal because normally with that kind of thing it's the you ruined everything, we'll throw empty drinks cans at you thing, but no, everyone is just super excited and wants to take selfies, and it's just it's pure and lovely and amazing.
Yeah, and see, I've been reading back through the old ROM series for my book. Yes, I'm writing a book on ROM. So, and the town and very similar to this series, he kind of operates out of a small town, but nobody really knows him. Everyone just knows him as that killer cyborg. Well into well into the series. It's not till the, I want to say the 20s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He starts to get accepted, but this one right off the bat, it's there's a guy that says, "You're ROM, right? Man, you saved us from all those evil guys." And it's this is, and there's that little girl that comes up to Orpheon. It's
oh yeah, it's
and he is and Orpheon is very much everyone thinks they're Transformers, so it's we are not Cybertronians.
Yeah, but the scene is, in addition to being adorable, it's also kind of hilarious. Just with Orpheon's all kind of very sort of Orpheon is playing kind of the Ron Swanson here.
Yeah,
and then Livia is being willfully stupid and messing with him.
Okay, I'm now just gonna hear Nick Offerman in my head whenever I read Orpheon now, but because you're totally right. It's and Livia's all of course, even we Autobots enjoyed sharing pictorial images. It's so good, right off the bat. I love it so much.
Livia is becoming a new favourite of mine, I think, between this and the annual.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and I was worried she was gonna be very... I was worried her whole thing was, she was fun before the armor, but after she became a Space Knight, she became all hard-ass and all that. But it's no, she still has her... She is so... she's much more rigid and dedicated to the mission than ROM is. But she still has her humor, and that's something that I really liked. We see that flashback where she's ROM, Phyla, and I were secretly married in a lovely Velovian unification ritual. Livia is definitely... I love her. We also check in with Camilla, who has recently allied herself with a Wraith plant, whose name I am honestly forgetting at this moment, but...
oh, goodness, yes, it is.
Ruan. Yes, Ruan. And we check in with them, see how they're sort of... she's still suffering, she still has her PTSD, and that's something I really like about this, is that, that whole...
Oh, wait, how did you say Camilla? It's Darby.
Oh, did I? Oh, I got those two mixed up. Oh my gosh, I can't... I'm the worst ROM fan ever. Yeah, Darby.
But yeah, Camilla's in this issue. But...
Yeah, she's briefly in this issue, but yeah, Darby is still dealing with her PTSD, and of course now she has a completely new trigger in the form of just anyone and the paranoia. And that's something I think is really good about having this sort of cooldown issue, this interlude, to basically kind of get more like of the characters just kind of without some big threat to fight.
Yeah.
We get to see how the paranoia is is still affecting her, and in combination with her PTSD, like she sees dire wraiths everywhere. And
yeah, I think kind of like Ryle and Chris Ryle and people have said kind of the intention with ROM is it's that kind of like paranoid kind of sci-fi, and it is good to sort of take a break from the action now and then so that you can kind of steep yourself a bit in that sort of paranoia rather than just everyone is fighting each other.
Yeah, and of course, then once we go back to the Space Knights, we see them entering a church, which was established in the previous storyline to be playing host to a wraith who is converting, who is ironic, who's essentially converting people into dire wraiths, but almost converting them before infecting them, and the fact that we kind of we get a lot of we get some exploration of religion in terms of what of what that means for humans, for the Elonians, for the dire wraiths, and just speaking personally as someone as a person of faith, I love when sci-fi explores religion. Like sometimes it can be really bad, but sometimes when it's like this issue, it can be really good. Because it raises because it's like. It's like there's the whole people who don't believe in gods, and people who like ROM who do, and the different dire wraiths and different cultures have their different gods, and we as humans have all sorts of religions. So it's a really interesting. It's a really interesting just one shot story.
Yeah, it reminded me a bit of. When The More Than Meets the Eye annual back in 2012 when they did sort of kind of the religion issue.
Yeah, because that whole thing was Primus,
kind of considered approach to it.
Yeah, because that whole thing was centered around like Primus, right? It's been a while since I've read, so yeah. And interestingly, we see the return of Axiom and Caleb Awan. Which is a little confusing given what happened at the end of Revolution.
We saw him merged as part of the big Baron Karza Wraith Combiner, which sort of got blown up and fell into a space bridge. But I guess, Caleb was sort of flung free somehow.
Yeah, my guess is the big the big space bridge explosion. My guess is that essentially just defused the Karza Wraith, so all the wraiths
scattered to the winds.
Yeah, scattered, and Karza, of course, later showed up, perfectly fine in Wrath of Karza, which we have to assume is after Revolution. Although Micronauts is a time travel book, so who knows what's going on with that. Wibbly wobbly.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, but we get to see Axiom without his armor for the first time.
Well, is it though? I think he's still armored. I think it's just.
Is he?
I mean, he's been drawn a bit differently to how he'd looked in the one shot, say, because it's a different artist. But I think it's still.
Oh, I thought it.
It's still matey in his armor. I think because I think the idea is that he's still effectively human inside there, just sort of sandwiched into the weird.
With the wraith covering the armor. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's the one problem with Axiom. That is the one problem with Axiom debuting in in the Revolution one shot, which wasn't done by David Messina.
No, yeah, guest artist.
Yeah, so which when a character is introduced, and it was such a different style. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember who the artist was, but
Oh,
I mean
I want
it
to
was
say.
good. It was just such a different style from Messina that it can make it hard. Like at first, I thought it was supposed to be him taking off the armor, but
Oh,
I guess yeah, we do see some mechanical kind of detailing. So maybe you're right.
yeah, because it's that same kind of look where he has kind of the
Yeah, he's
kind of
got the
visor of the helmet showing through the sort
yeah
of goopy flesh bits.
yeah. Although there's like a line across the visor, so it kind of makes it look like just kind of like sockets, like eye sockets, you know.
Oh no, yeah, I think let me
So
compare that to
so
the
that
art in one shot. No, yeah, that was there in the one shot. It's kind of just he's got kind of a smooth,
yeah
rounded visor and then the kind of
yeah I don't know,
gloopy wraith stuff
maybe it's just the way
stretching
Messina
across it.
drew it. It
Yeah, it kind of it gives off a very different look. It's kind of
yeah
smoother to the one shot. But yeah, I
yeah
think he's still in the armor.
yeah. And then of course compare that to the way Osio drew him
Yes.
in Revolution. I didn't even realize that was Axiom when he showed up in Revolution at first. I
Oh
thought it
yeah, he
was
was quite different there,
yeah
wasn't
he
he?
was so different. So I don't know
Yeah.
who knows how he's supposed to look, but yeah
I'm looking forward to sort of Axiom doing some more stuff after he got just
yeah
introduced in one shot. And also, I do love the idea that he's just this horrifying like thing with kind of an Australian accent because the guy is Australian according to his profile.
yeah.
It's great.
And I love how he still talks like a normal dude, though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's not like a lot of the race where they get the we will murder you, Space Knight,
Yes,
kind of
all very
thing.
sort of high-minded.
Yeah,
Axiom's just some guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like Axiom, kill him. You betcha.
yeah,
I love that. It helps set him apart from the other wraiths.
yeah.
Yeah. And of
Kind
course he just has a wicked cool design with the xenomorph like
yeah,
fin
yeah.
head, like kind of fin on his head.
Yeah, it is very
I
much
guess
that
not
sort of
fin, but
school of HR Geiger with all the sort of tubes and the sort
yeah.
of
Oh yeah,
biomech.
very very Geiger-esque. Yeah.
And yeah, so then we check in briefly with Camilla, who has lost her arm but has also lost her wraith infection after the events of the last arc.
Yeah.
Actually, I noticed caption box there, recurring error from ROM calling the Earth Defense Command the Earth Defense Corps, but
Yeah,
small
but
fry as far as errors go. Certainly.
yeah, it's not like it's not like ROM is suddenly purple.
No, could be a lot worse.
Yeah,
So,
and back in the and of course the issue ends with the conclusion to the fight with the
yes.
with the giant wraith monster.
Gosh, yes, it's an ugly chap, isn't he?
Yeah, with which I will say this about the wraiths is their whole shape-shifting powers have been a little inconsistent.
Because I think this issue is the first time that in a Ryle Engage book at least we see a wraith turning into multiple humans, isn't it? When he shifts into the other sort of religious people.
And then of course he transforms into like the big thing, and
even that's not so unprecedented. Kind of my understanding has been that the wraiths, the human form that they've kind of infested is their sort of new default form.
Yeah.
And then they can kind of turn into sort of a variety of sort of monstrous wraith things.
Yeah, it's definitely not as it's just and maybe this is just me as a classic fan.
Yeah.
But the introduction of yes, we have to actually like spike you to infect you, and then like transfers that is just different. Like in the original ROM series, the wraiths just straight up just mimicked the appearance of something and could mimic the appearance of anything else. So adding this new dynamic kind of was making me think they had to infect something to turn into it. or they use the spells to like create the blood like wings to become a Wraith Hawk. So there's they haven't really precisely outlined.
Yeah, my impression has been that the kind of human becomes their new default, and then they have sort of a basic Wraith form they can turn back into, and then if they use magic, they can turn into like a flying Wraith or like a weird, giant, hideous Wraith kind of lobster monster, as this fellow does here.
Yeah, kind of I mean, he's got all. He's also kind of spider-like. He's got like all the legs.
Oh yes, lots of legs. Yeah.
Yeah, so he is an ugly thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love how like Livia just has the huge like cannon.
Oh yeah, just
for the neutralizer.
Twin cannons. Yeah,
I know. Like I was saying, like Rom has his little pistol, and Orpheon had his like bow, and it's like Livia has like the giant cannon. I love it. I want toys. I want toys of them so badly.
Actually, that was one thing I wasn't quite sure on in this issue, because like it is brought up in this issue that ROM still has Orpheon's neutralizer absorbed into him, but then all three of them are able to sort of shoot neutralizer beams at the Wraith at the end. Like, what is Orpheon firing from?
Well, I imagine that because we saw in the annual that the neutralizer that ROM had just kind of got absorbed into his armor. I imagine that Orpheon's probably got some other weapons,
I guess,
in his armor, but it's not like his primary neutralizer.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like, he probably has like some like incredibly powerful neutralizer that can, take down Wraiths like this. But, he's got some other weapons as backup because he's a hard-ass military guy, so...
I was slightly disappointed that Rob wasn't sort of dual-wielding neutralizers in this issue.
Yeah, that would have been...
Yeah, he's still got Orpheons.
That would have been really cool. Like, maybe as a crossbow kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been so cool. And of course, this whole, like, that giant Wraith was definitely a new thing for the Space Knights. They've not seen this kind of thing before. And of course, ROM says, he's like, I have never seen its like. Words I've often said on this world. And Orpheon's like, well, you were right, Rom. Earth is not just another battlefield. There's something unique about it. More than ever, I am unsure whether that means we should spare this planet or destroy it while we still can. And I like that Livia and Orpheon are sticking around for...
Yeah.
Or Orpheon, rather, as Chris Ryle pronounced it, so... I like that they're sticking around for more than just like that one arc. I was worried that they'd be around for maybe one arc, and then go away. But it's like, I'm glad they're sticking around. How long they'll stick around for, we'll have to see. Because I feel like eventually we got to get back to just ROM. Like even in the original series, we didn't get like when we did get new Space Knights, brought in like Starshine or Terminus. Like, they left and then would show up again because the focus was squarely on ROM himself. So I'm interested to see where it goes. The next storyline. They're setting up some good stuff. We've got the absence and the presence. So I am looking forward to it.
We're getting two new sort of like basic tier villains in the next arc as well, aren't we? Sort of sea monster themed ones, wasn't it?
Oh yes, Scylla and Charybdis, I believe.
Ah yes.
Yeah, named after the monsters from Greek mythology. Yes.
So I'm interested to see, because Axiom was a very cool new sort of monster design, so I'm interested to see what we get with these new two ones.
Yeah,
two new ones.
Of course, that's the thing. We now have Axiom waiting in the wings. We have the presence and the absence. So, like, you worry, now we're introducing even more new villains. It's like, at some point we have to do something with the villains we already have,
Yeah, it's especially interesting considering that it seems like the next arc is going to be the last one before a relaunch, at least what the solicitation was implying.
Yeah.
With the whole sort of penultimate chapter of sort of ROM's first attack against the Dire Wraiths or something. It seems to suggest that after the First Strike crossover, we are going to get some kind of relaunch for ROM.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's hard to know how much of... Because he hasn't been mentioned in the, summaries for it that we've gotten.
He's on one cover, I believe.
Yeah, he is on a cover. Although, let's be fair, IDW covers, they can...
True. I get the impression that kind of him and M.A.S.K are kind of going to pop in and say hello for First Strike, but it's mostly going to be sort of Optimus Prime, Kill, G.I. Joe.
So we'll see. I wouldn't mind seeing the next arc kind of go to, or the next series kind of take him into space, or even be like a flashback series like the Shining Armor crossover is going to be. Especially because that's the big thing is, we've been very much on Earth, and that's where ROM should be for the most part. But the occasional trip to space, I wouldn't mind seeing. So.
Oh, because actually that's the other thing with the next arc. I believe each issue we're getting a backup story by drawn by Sal Buscema, I think.
Ooh, right, you're right.
They're calling it Knights of the Soul Star Order, I think. But yeah, each issue has a backup story about just a space knight off doing something, which is going to be cool.
I seriously hope we get a Nakomi story.
Oh wait, the bear. Yes, the bear.
Yes.
Yes,
the bear whose name I managed to convince Chris Ryle to tell me. Hashtag humble brag. All right.
Who else have we got? Is it Cube? Do you pronounce it Cube? I don't remember how you're supposed to pronounce it.
I think it's supposed to be pronounced, Cube. So, Cube. My name is Cube.
Although now I say that, I vaguely remember when a bunch of the writers did a Reddit AMA. I want to say, I'm sure I remember Chris Ryle suggesting, it's Q to the B. You pronounce it.
Q to the B. Q to the B. My name is Cube. Q to the B. Q to... I see. If it's Cube, it makes his speech pattern so much easier to read. Cube.
Yeah, well, you'd assume. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's finish things up with our final issue, Revolutionaries number 4. Callum, why don't you take the lead on this one?
So Revolutionaries, intrepid gang have been on the tail of the... Well, no. They were on the tail of the talisman, now they have the talisman, and they are trying to figure stuff out about it. And that has involved investigating the alliance of lots of people with the word iron in their name that have been...
The Iron Alliance, as I like to call it.
And so this has led them to Khalistan, home of the Iron Klaw, from the 90s G.I. Joe Extreme series. And oh my goodness, he is so extreme.
G.I. Joe Extreme!
He has got a lot of skulls on his costume, and a very, very nice little hat, and yes.
I love it. Honestly, say what you will about G.I. Joe Extreme, but Iron Claw's design was amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of... It's
the man...
Incarnate 90s kind of superhero character.
Yeah, the man has no subtlety at all. He has a skull, fastening his pauldron, he has a skull shoulder pad, he has a skull on his hat, he has a skull mask, he has a skull on his arm, as the arms of his chair.
The arms of his chair,
I love it so much.
And so, this issue sees our heroes arrive at the Iron Castle in Khalistan, and it seems that Blackrock has been captured. And so, I have a story to tell here, in that, back as Revolutionaries has been being solicited, there was some mix-ups with the covers and the descriptions, because, apparently, John Barber very briefly considered moving the Hearts of Steel versus Cobra Commander issue into the issue 4 slot, and I presume this Iron Claw issue into the issue 5 slot. And that didn't happen, but it caused all the solicitations to get messed up. So when we saw the preview for this issue, where oh yeah, our villains talk about how kind of Tomax has been defeated and Centurion, who is presumably Hearts of Steel Bumblebee, has been lost and now Blackrock has been captured. Here I am thinking like, oh goodness, wait, so did these issue changes mean that we've kind of missed the events of the Hearts of Steel issue? Is the next issue going to be a flashback? But no, I was bamboozled by the Revolutionaries as much as they bamboozled the villains. I enjoyed that, if I'm honest. I enjoyed the fact that knowing about all that real world confusion enhanced the deception for me as the reader.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I actually have to wonder is, like, will, like, because of what happens in this issue and the way it opens, like, will issue 5 basically not have the Revolutionaries actually in it? Will it just be Tomax and the Hearts, like, and Centurion, like, going to San Francisco?
I don't know, I don't think so, because, I mean, this issue ends with, of course, the Revolutionaries now know that that's where Tomax and Centurion are going, so I think we're going to kind of...
Yeah.
They're now going to go intercept them for real, and that's all going to go play out. But yeah, I did enjoy getting getting tricked at the same time as the villains got tricked.
Yeah.
And so yeah, our Revolutionaries infiltrate the Iron Castle and come away.
But I mean, but I could see the Revolutionaries showing up like at the end and then
Perhaps.
issue. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying like it could.
So yeah, up front, yeah, I enjoyed this issue. I've enjoyed every issue of Revolutionaries so far. It's my new favourite thing.
Honestly, same. Because it's continuity porn in the way I love it. Honestly. It's like...
John Barber is a master of his craft. I will say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably the sort of... It's
We
probably
love you,
the
John.
talkiest... It's probably the talkiest issue of Revolutionaries we've had so far. There's an entire page, for instance, given over to essentially going back to one of the older IDW G.I. Joe books, the last one actually that was published before, or one of the last ones that was published before they stopped them, basically. The one that was written by Karen Travis and was very boring, if I'm honest, and ended without a proper ending because IDW cancelled the series because it wasn't selling. So this issue takes some time to flash back to that and add some kind of resolution to it. But I will say that if I hadn't read that series, I'd have been like, what is all this? Because have you not read that series then?
I have not, no.
So yeah, how did you find that sort of entire page of flashback to it then?
Well,
how did that read?
I mean, I knew that there were things that had happened, and maybe it's just that I'm a longtime comics fan, so like the idea of a new series addressing stuff that had happened before that you don't know is just kind of it's just a thing that happens for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I kind of knew that like the fact that Big Ben, the whole Big Ben thing, like that was something that happened in Revolution.
Yeah.
That I didn't know
that was brought up. Yeah.
Yeah, that I did not know was connected to, like the Snake Eyes Agent of Cobra stuff and all that. So to me, it was. So to me,
that
this
was a new
actually...
connection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that was a kind of a new connection drawn by this issue. Actually, yeah. The Karen Travis G.I. Joe series and Snake Eyes Agent of Cobra they were completely unrelated, and in fact, you never actually find out in that series why Snake Eyes has infiltrated Cobra, or even if he has actually infiltrated Cobra, or whether he's just decided to work for Cobra for some reason. But yeah, John Barber,
he sort of seeing what what happened to Duke and all that. That was good.
John Barber, kind of continuity medic that he is, went back and gave us both a reason for what Snake Eyes was doing with Cobra and gave us some kind of finality to the story that had been told with Isaac Kraft, the teenager Cobra guy that was the focus of that Karen Travis series, which I repeat is really, really boring. Like, I had heard before I went and read all the old IDW G.I. Joe stuff that, oh no, yeah, it's all kind of realistic and boring and it's not at all fantastical. And it turns out when I'd heard people talking like that, they were talking about the Karen Travis series. It is, oh my, it's so slow. It is kind of aggressively, realistic military stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I went back and like saw some of the sort of like press stuff for that series, and yeah, then they talk about how Karen Travis is like, a military writer and all that, and so it's like, so that does not surprise me. I mean, she like wrote books on the military and all that, even though she apparently also wrote like sci-fi books like Star Wars. Like
Yeah, the Republic Commando and sort of Mandalorian stuff.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Which was based on the video game.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I've read two things by Karen Travis, which is that G.I. Joe series and a run she did on the Batman Arkham tie-in comic, and they were both really boring and really slow-paced, and I can't say I'm ever going to read anything written by Karen Travis again.
Huh. I'm surprised she wrote Batman of all.
It was very strange. Yeah,
I mean, I could see she does military stuff. She's done military sci-fi. G.I. Joe. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, it was very strange. They had a kind of ongoing digital first series after Arkham City came out, and it was for a while. It was sort of, I think, like three-parters, or like over 3 week stories that were sort of little punchy one-shots that tied into the story of the game kind of directly, it was all reasonably entertaining. And then they did this really long, serialized, dull mystery story by Karen Travis that didn't actually have a proper ending because it got cancelled, which I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah, so basically, if you want a book to survive, don't hire Karen Travis?
Yeah.
I'm sure she's not listening. And even if she is, I don't care. Sorry.
And so, yeah, it was interesting to see as well in this issue. And yeah, page after, tying into what John Barber's doing in his other books at the minute with Onyx Prime.
Yeah.
I was expecting to see that in Revolutionaries.
Yeah, I was not. I will say one thing about Revolutionaries. One tiny criticism I have towards it, which is it's sort of it's Marvel team up kind of formula where like every issue is a team up with some certain character.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of room for a lot of characterization.
But yeah, that's fair.
Which granted isn't really much of a problem because with people like Cup and Action Man, we kind of have them. Like, they're pretty much established, Action Man had his whole miniseries. Cup has been around forever. But with Garrison Blackrock and Mayday, we don't get a whole lot of chance to really explore them more. So the fact that we do get that Onyx Prime flashback is a big deal. And I like that. And I'm sure, and what I'm thinking is, depending on what happens with Revolutionaries, since we do know it's coming to an end, I wonder if we'll be seeing Blackrock return to the Transformers books with when Onyx Prime eventually returns.
Yeah.
So
actually, but yeah, to finish recapping this issue,
Yeah.
Predaking turns up. That was a first for IDW.
Yeah, which I was honestly when it was pointed out that this is Predacons' first appearance, I was like, oh my gosh, it is. I can't believe it. It's like, so now they don't really explain how how the Predacons are able to combine.
That's an interesting one. They sort of Cup mentions briefly that the Predacons on Earth, after All Hail Megatron, experimented with combiner tech, and then later on, Blitz, I think, mentions how they used some kind of object on themselves. But yeah, that is thus far sort of an unseen story, because they appeared in the Costa ongoing series after All Hail Megatron, but by that point, Razorclaw was not around with them, and they were hanging out in China, not doing any kind of combining. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah. So.
There is a very kind of enigmatic reference to an object having been used on them, which is presumably not the Enigma of Combination, because that wasn't around then.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was a little confusing, and honestly, I've got to say the Predacons were a bit of a letdown. Like,
well,
I don't know if it was just
they were there to be a big thing for the Revolutionaries to fight.
Yeah, and the fact that Cup seemingly killed Razorclaw after, like, especially after talking about how he had trained them, like, seemed a little. I was like, geez, that's a little cold, Cup. But
is it worth it for the weakness gag though? Because
it's kind of worth it. It kind of is. I will give that to you.
Yeah, getting shot in the head is a lot of guys' weaknesses. It is indeed.
Cup and Action Man, OTP, Bro TP.
Yeah. The one thing I do like is that at this point, even if Revolutionaries is ending, even if Cup does end up having, like, in Optimus Prime or something, that Action Man will be there, because they are basically inseparable at this point. Like, it would take a lot to kind of convincingly write a scenario in which they're not still hanging around together.
I know. I kind of want to send, like, when I eventually get the Cup Titans Return figure.
Yeah, it's a great figure.
Yeah, I kind of want to send it to a customizer to, like, customize gosh, what's his partner's name? Flintlock?
It is. It's not Flintlock anymore. Well, no, Flintlock. No, I can't remember if Flintlock is the original name or his new name.
Okay. But yeah, I want to send the Titan Master to a customizer and get it customized into, like, Ian, like, because that just I love Ian so much. He's so much fun. I love him.
Okay, no, yeah, Flintlock is the name of the Titan Master, who is based on Recoil, Cup's original target.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I was right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe there's going to be a Reaper labeled set for Cup that does give him, like, the blue-green head, because the comic, Marvel colours, like, are my favourite thing, but I definitely prefer them having those colours to whatever the hell Takara's face sculpt for that figure is, because oh my goodness, like, at least they made it green instead of grey, but what is that face on Takara Cup? What is it? Ugh.
Even though Cup is apparently supposed to be blue, like, I remember someone telling me that, and I was like, is he
like, Cup is supposed to be a sort of blue-green.
Yeah, I guess. So I guess teal, cyan.
Yeah,
one of those fancy colours.
In the cartoon, he is supposed to be a sort of a dark teal turquoise, and that is what Takara have now corrected him to. Excellent. After initially saying, yes, we're going to make him grey, because, like, that's how he looks in this crappy Master of the Rebirth or something.
Yeah. Oh. Even though Japan didn't get the Rebirth.
Well, who can expect Takara Deco decisions to make any kind of sense nowadays? You just kind of have to say, yeah, cool, great job, Takara, well done, sort of give them a sort of patronising pat on the head and sort of send them away.
This is why I just stick to Hasbro. Like, with the exception of Blur, I do kind of want the Takara Blur.
Oh, yes.
I still don't have the Blur mold, even though everyone says it's, like, amazing.
Oh, it is nice. I have it as Brainstorm and Nautica now, and yeah.
I want that Nautica. I really do.
I perhaps paid. I splurged. I'd gotten a paycheck recently, and I splurged on Nautica from eBay, because I'd also just found out that that box set wasn't going to get released in the UK, so I was like, yeah, screw it, let's go. Let's get Nautica.
Yeah, bummer.
I can only imagine like TF Nation convention in the UK this summer. You should go to it. It was really good last year. Not being paid.
I can't afford to fly out all the
yeah.
way to. I can't
yeah,
afford to fly
listeners-
across the across
Yeah,
the Atlantic for
listeners
that,
in the
unfortunately.
UK, TF Nation. But I digress.
Next year. All right.
Nautica is going to be such a hot commodity there
Yeah.
in the UK because we love our more than meets the eye in the UK. I think perhaps
Well,
more
you
so
know.
than America because of the Britishness of it, and Nautica is just people will be charging so much for her in that dealer room. I tell you now.
Yeah. Anyways, back to
Revolutionaries.
Yeah. So yeah, we get the Predacons as Predaking. Cup kills Razor Claw.
And the Revolutionaries escape to presumably go harass Tomax and Hearts of Steel Bumblebee, and then our stinger is it's Hearts of Steel Optimus Prime 2. Like, gosh.
Yes, as Project Iceman, which, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I love
movie
that.
reference.
I love that reference.
Yeah. Because, of course, John Barber got his start at IDW doing Transformers on those Dark of the Moon prequel comics, which are really good. If you're listening and you even slightly like the movies, go read John Barber's movie comics because they are great.
Yeah, I've been meaning to go back and read those. Although, to be fair, I'm actually, kind of relieved for him that they stopped doing movie comics, because just imagine him trying to consolidate the order of the Wiccans with all that.
It would be impossible, frankly.
Yeah.
But
At this point, I consider them just two timelines.
Well, it has
the
to
movies and
an IDW continuity that includes their comics in the first 3 films.
Yeah. So.
But Project Iceman.
Yes.
And Hearts of Steel Optimus Prime appearing exactly as he does when he is found in Infestation 2, which continued the original Hearts of Steel series.
Yes. Now, you have your theory on this.
Yes. I believe that what is going to happen here is that the entire Hearts of Steel miniseries is going to be retconned. Well, I don't say retconned because I assume it still also kind of happens in its own world, where Infestation 2 and the X-Files crossover subsequently happened. That was a thing.
Yeah, I did recently read that, and I read that because it was in my local comic book store. So I flipped through it, and I was like, huh.
But I suspect what is happening is that we're going to see the Hearts of Steel miniseries kind of plonked into the past of the IDW kind of Hasbro universe by way of, with the explanation that those Autobots and Decepticons, they start out in a different universe, and then maybe their arc and their nemesis fell through a portal or something, and then they crashed on prehistoric Earth. They had their sort of Ice Age wars, and then they woke up and did all the sort of Hearts of Steel steam train stuff. So I reckon that rather than just, they've come here from another universe, I think we're going to see that all actually happened on this Earth. Because I think that fits best into the whole kind of secret history thing of Revolutionaries.
Yeah.
But that is my theory. I'm interested to see if it pans out.
Yeah, I'm definitely... It's a convincing argument. I'm not sure how much I want that to happen, because I do kind of like the idea that we have this whole other universe. I love the idea that Infestation 2 and X-Files Conspiracy take place in the Hearts of Steel universe, and I kind of want that to just kind of be its own thing. That maybe they cross over from that, but I won't. I would not mind. But it's I won't. I'm certainly not going to be mad if it is retconned into continuity. That does make me question. Okay, if Barber can somehow link X-Files Conspiracy and Infestation 2 into also happening in this universe, I will be thoroughly amazed.
Not least because you would then canonically have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the X-Files, and the Crow exist in the Hasbro Universe, which should just, the more the merrier. Because, of course, the Avengers do exist in this universe.
Yeah, and were canonically killed off in All Hail Megatron.
Oh, yeah.
That is,
didn't you? Yeah, asked.
That is word of God, and honestly, that's the best we're going to get, so we might as well take it as canon, people. While some people would like to argue that authorial intent is not canon, hi, Jim, it's like, sometimes legally that's the best you got, so,
But,
I'm honestly really looking forward to seeing with, where the Hearts of Steel stuff goes.
Oh, yeah, issue 5 is definitely that's got to be the most anticipated one, for lots of people, I think. It's Hearts of Steel in this universe. What is happening?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Well, because that's the thing, because when they first, when it was first solicited, it was the Revolutionaries versus Hearts of Steel, and it's and we all collectively just were like...
Yeah, that was a sort
of...
What? Kind of moment, yeah.
And it's then we see actual Bumblebee showing up, which I'm glad they're kind of giving him a different name, so it's so we don't have to call him just Bumblebee, Another thing that I liked about this issue was the fact that this is the first issue that actually officially refers to the team as Revolutionaries.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because Baron Ironblood calls them would-be, these would-be revolutionaries. And it's hey, he said the title!
Yeah. I did like that. It sort of... It kind of seems one of the villains uses it just in conversation, and then, another one of them uses it later on. They've kind of decided, we're going to call them that now, I guess.
Yes. Which means we can now give them an official team page. On the wiki, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and this was something I joked about with John in my interview on YouTube. Cough, go check out my YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, I've watched that. It is a good interview.
Yeah, and we joke, and I mentioned how, I love how he brought all the Iron villains together. We even get the Iron Grenadiers in here, even though those guys are supposed to work for Destro. It's apparently... But, as we saw in the M.A.S.K annual, Destro, he's doing some...
He's around. And, in fact, judging by the First Strike covers, he is probably going to be working with Baron Ironblood in the near future. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And he, there's literally a line in the M.A.S.K annual, let me see if I can find it, where he's even with the extra resources I gave you. So clearly, he's kind of selling, he's loaning out the Iron Grenadiers, so...
it is worth pointing out that, in IDW G.I. Joe's past, Destro was big into making robots for Cobra. He didn't make the originals, I think, if I remember, but Destro made kind of new upgraded BATs, the Battle Android Troopers, for Cobra, and those showed up a few times. So making robot soldiers is a thing that IDW Destro has been big into. So I could definitely see that, kind of them being loners from him here.
Yeah. Although the M.A.S.K annual treated... I didn't know that. The M.A.S.K annual treated them like they were, dudes, so...
Oh, I forget quite how they're depicted there.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're driving vehicles, and then, they're treated as dudes, so... Okay. I don't know what... I don't know what's up with that issue, so... But the fact that, literally all the Iron villains... I want them to get, an official name, I guess they're technically, the Iron Army, I guess is the easiest, but, I just love how, we have General Blitz and the, and Iron Claw and Iron Blood, and then, of course, we have Dr. X and Storm Shadow in there, so... Which I'm wondering, this Storm Shadow, it's got to be someone, right? It's got to be someone that we know.
There aren't that many someones.
Yeah, I don't, my first inclination was, Jinx, but I'm not sure what her history is.
Dead, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Or is she?
Yeah, no. Oh no, she is very dead. Chuckles shoots her in the head on panel,
Oh,
I'm afraid. Yeah. But then actually, yeah, kind of her role, what would be Jinx's role in most, in the other G.I. Joe stories, gets taken on by, a character called Ronin, who I'm not sure if I'm not sure if she's an IDW original one or not.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, actually, no, she was the first chameleon, and then she becomes called Ronin, and then the chameleon, who is currently an Optimus Prime, took that name.
okay, so...
But yeah, and I guess, like,
So,
she could...
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple
Ronin.
options, basically.
But yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, she could just be a mysterious ninja, and that's a thing.
True.
Who knows?
Which, honestly, I would not mind at all. Like,
Oh no, yeah.
I'm definitely, like, someone who, like, loves a good subversion of tropes. So if it's just, like, her mask gets knocked off and she is absolutely no one we recognize.
You can definitely kind of envisage the scene in which kind of Action Man knocks off her mask and is like, "What? Who are you? Like, you're not anyone."
Yeah,
right?
it's like...
You can see that happening, can't you?
Yeah, kind of...
I feel
So-
like the bigger question with Storm Shadow and the Red Shadow ninjas is how did they get all like Dire Wraithy? Because they are both like cyborg and Dire Wraithy, and that's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Like, is it related to the talisman? But then the kind of Team Iron didn't have the talisman for very long at all, and you kind of wonder.
Yeah. Also, I am amazed that we went into such. Also, I don't know what this says about us, but we went through this entire conversation without mentioning Snake Eyes once.
Yeah, oh, true. Yes, that is Snake Eyes.
We went with this entire conversation without mentioning literally the most popular G.I. Joe character of all time.
Snake Eyes is there. There we go.
He is there.
He does ninja things, as Snake Eyes is wont to do.
Yeah. Which I did love that twist where it's revealed that Tomax is actually him.
Oh no, yeah, that whole bit. Like I was saying earlier, I loved getting kind of like getting tricked by that. I loved that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Snake Eyes is a robot, and Tomax is Snake Eyes, and yeah, great.
Yeah. And the fact that he shows up and he's wearing Tomax's
Oh yeah, like 80s outfit.
Yeah, his
and
80s
they comment
costume.
on it. It's like, what are you wearing?
Yes.
And actually, also the fact that because Cup is providing the voice of fake Tomax as while Snake Eyes is kind of dressed up as him, because Snake Eyes doesn't speak, because that's super cool, isn't it? Yeah, oh yeah, he's so cool. It's mute, but yeah, it's Cup doing the voice, and if you go back and reread the issue, you can tell it's Cup in hindsight. Like, I think he calls the talisman a kind of whatchamacallit or something, doesn't he? It's like, yeah, that's Cup.
Yeah, which
yeah.
I saw someone comment that at first they didn't think John had really captured Tomax's speaking pattern.
Yeah.
Which was honestly something I did, like I said, as a non-Joe reader prior to Revolution, I just didn't pick it up. So I just did not notice that. So it works on a multiple levels thing. So yeah. But yeah, overall, like, this was another fantastic issue of Revolutionaries.
Yeah.
Not the best one. I still think the best issue is probably issue 3. Ironically.
Okay.
But that might be biased because I friggin' love the Adventure Team concept, and it has my boy Soundwave in there, which, as I mentioned, is my favorite Transformers character of all time. Soundwave, always and forever. Love him. But yes, this was a great issue.
Yeah, I'd probably pick 2 as my favorite, because
that was
I think 2 kind of hit nicely that sort of that blend of sort of action comedy and sort of interesting sort of mystery stuff and all sorts
well that was definitely like I almost feel like the first issue should have had one guest as
perhaps
in that kind of 2-part story, Um,
Well, yeah, Blood and the October Guard are sort of a bit barely there in that
Yeah.
first issue, certainly.
yeah, that like I feel like should have had ROM or Micronauts, but considering like this might have been the only time that they could have squeezed Micronauts in, depending on what was happening with Wrath of Karza and all that. So, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, that moment in issue 2 when Cop bursts through the roof of the moon base yelling, "Oh, give me back my human pal." And then Oz is just off to the side, well, Cybertronian's good at being distracting then. I think that's one of my favourite Revolutionaries moments so far.
Yeah. And of course, Revolutionaries, even outside of Hearts of Steel, we have a ton coming up because we've got
God, yeah.
We're gonna have the Atomic Man story arc.
Atomic Man and versus M.A.S.K is 6.
And Sergeant Savage is coming back for an upcoming issue. So,
and I do love that, judging from the solicit, that they are going full blown. He's a soldier from the Second World War who woke up in they're keeping the fact that he was in the 90s and now he's in the present day again, and
love it.
Like, along with Iron Claw, the embracing of the 90s pleases me.
Yes, which, I mean, say what you will about G.I. Joe Extreme, but Iron Claw and Sergeant Savage, and this is a slight tangent, but I love what they did with Sergeant Savage to sort of rework his Screaming Eagles team into sort of his because in the original Sergeant Savage, the Screaming Eagles were the modern team that he commanded.
Oh, yeah.
But now, of course, all those characters have been displaced to the World War II setting, sort of as an almost homage / pastiche to the Howling Commandos.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very kind of Nick Fury and his Howling Command.
And I love that fact, because I love those old Howling Commando stories. So it's I love that idea. So, but that just about wraps it up for this week.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a pretty solid week. We had, even M.A.S.K was more solid than usual. So.
Yeah, no, I will give it that. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Next week, I actually don't have the list up for.
Oh, Optimus Prime 7 is out next week.
Yeah, and more books, presumably following that.
The Previews World kind of tentative list, which it will probably change completely, but currently they are listing M.A.S.K. Oh goodness, actually, they are listing M.A.S.K 7, Wrath of Karza 2, ROM 11, Lost Light 6, and Tillula 110. All out the week after next, which can't actually be happening, I assume.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I feel like some of those were old solicitations, so yes, expect some of those books next time.
Yeah.
At least one of those books is bound to come out next week.
You'd hope. Or it's to be a short show.
Yes, and if that's the case, we might, I don't know, do something else. We might do we might cover. We might do a rereading of Hearts of Steel or something.
Yes.
Since you've recently reread it, and I really should reread it. So
it's an interesting story. That.
So that's another thing. If we ever have a week that's kind of dry, we might do do kind of a fill in with something else. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends. Tell all your friends about them, especially if they are Transformers fans, Joe fans, ROM fans, what have you. And leave us a review on iTunes. We're a new podcast, and that's really the best way to help us, expand our listeners. And, of course, you can check us out at hasbrouniverse.libsyn.com, and you can follow us on Twitter at HasbroUPodcast.
We are also both on Twitter. I am at JalaGuy, Jala Guy, and you are, I believe, Dan at...
You are, I'm at Daniel Adkins, PRD.
Yeah. Yes. Correct.
Yeah, it's short for production, but I couldn't put production in there. Couldn't even put prod in there, so I had to just shorten it. Yes.
Because you will definitely find me dishing about comics and other Transformers things on there.
Yes, and of course we're both on the AllSpark, where we post.
Yes.
I'm mostly posting the comics, forums, because that's kind of my primary thing.
Mm.
Oh, do you remember that? Do you remember that guy on? Do you remember that guy on that other forum that thought I was some sort of IDW plant?
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation.
That was one of the most hilarious things that has ever happened to me.
But yeah, you will see me hearing about the sort of Transformers web fandom as Jala guy.
Yeah.
Primarily the AllSpark, TF Wiki.
And that's Jala as in, like, the Bionicle, right?
Yes, I should say yes.
Knew it!
Jala as in the Bionicle character. I created that username in 2003, I want to say, and yes. Jala as in...
Dude, Bionicle.
Spelt the original way, not after they changed the spelling because of a Maori lawsuit. Fun fact about Bionicle.
Yeah. Man, Bionicle. Such good comics. Like, that, like, I got those, like, early comics through, like, the, Lego Club magazine.
Yeah.
Man, love them.
Yeah. In the UK, we got, like, chopped up versions of those comics sometimes. Like, 2001 there were 3 in America, but in the UK we got the first issue and then issues 2 and 3 hacked together into one issue.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
well, that was a weird tangent for
that
was a podcast.
Yes, that was a weird tangent. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, where I often talk about Transformers or ROM, or like lots of other comics and all that. So, yes, thank you for listening. And
yes, thank you.
We will see. Well, we will see you all next time. Take care.
See ya.
Surrounded on all sides, the odds of survival are 1,000,000 to 1. And with the collapse of the former superpower,
several powerful factions now vie for control.
the threat is real.
An evil organization calling itself SCAR.
Only as SCAR. Their goal, nothing short of total world domination. Led by this man, known only as Iron Claw.
We will be victorious!
Not on my watch! Situation critical.
Roll call!
Ballistic!
Harpoon!
Mayday!
Black Dragon!
Sudden damage! Quick sight! Metalhead! Right! Lieutenant Stone!
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1.